The rain hammered against the windows of our small London flat, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For years, Alistair, had prided myself on being a good husband to Bronwyn. A software engineer by trade, I worked tirelessly to provide her with a comfortable life, filled with weekend getaways to the Cotswolds and cozy evenings spent by the fireplace. I wasn't perfect, of course. I could be a bit of a workaholic, sometimes losing myself in lines of code and neglecting the finer details of married life. But my love for Bronwyn was unwavering, a constant in the ever-changing landscape of our lives. Bronwyn, a vibrant artist with a fiery spirit, had always been the more outgoing one. Her paintings, bold and expressive, filled our home with color and life. I admired her passion, her ability to see beauty where others saw only the mundane. We were, I believed, a perfect complement to each other, or so I thought. The first crack in our seemingly flawless facade appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronwyn started spending more time at her studio, a converted warehouse space in Shoreditch. She had always been dedicated to her art, but lately her absences felt different, longer, more frequent. She had come home late, her explanations vague, her eyes avoiding mine. I chalked it up to artistic inspiration, a creative surge that demanded her undivided attention. I wanted to be supportive, to encourage her passion, even if it meant sacrificing some of our time together. Then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations in the hallway, hushed tones that ceased abruptly when I entered the room. Bronwyn would claim it was her agent, a potential buyer, a fellow artist seeking advice. I tried to believe her, but a nagging unease began to gnaw at me. A seed of doubt, planted in the fertile ground of my insecurities, started to sprout. The final straw, the catalyst that shattered my carefully constructed reality, arrived in the form of a misplaced scarf. A silk scarf, not one of Bronwyn's, tucked away in the pocket of her coat. It was a vibrant shade of crimson, a color she never wore. I held it in my hands, the smooth fabric a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within me. The scent of an unfamiliar cologne clung to it, a foreign fragrance that invaded our shared space. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, the image of the scarf burned into my mind. The phone calls, the late nights, the evasive answers, it all coalesced into a sickening realization. Bronwyn was cheating on me. The thought hit me like a physical blow, leaving me breathless and reeling. My world, once so stable and secure, began to crumble around me. I confronted her the next morning, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. I presented the scarf, the damning evidence of her betrayal. Bronwyn's face paled. She stammered, her eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. Finally, she confessed. It was an artist she'd met at her studio, a charismatic sculptor named Jasper. They'd been having an affair for months, a whirlwind romance fueled by passion and artistic connection, or so she claimed. Her words were like shards of glass, piercing my heart with each syllable. I listened in stunned silence as she recounted their clandestine meetings, their stolen moments of intimacy. The woman I loved, the woman I had dedicated my life to, had been lying to me, betraying me all along. The anger came in waves, a burning rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to break everything in sight. But beneath the anger, a deep, profound sadness settled in. The realization that the life I had built, the future I had envisioned, was all a lie. I asked her why. Why would she do this to me? Was I not enough? Bronwyn's answer was a jumbled mess of excuses and justifications. She claimed I was too focused on work, too emotionally unavailable. She said she felt neglected, unappreciated, but I knew the truth. It wasn't about me. It was about her. Her selfishness, her need for excitement, her inability to commit to a life of quiet contentment. I told her to leave. I couldn't bear to look at her, to be in the same room with her. She packed her bags, her movements mechanical, her eyes devoid of emotion. As she walked out the door, she turned back one last time, a flicker of regret in her eyes, but it was too late. The damage was done. The trust was broken. The following weeks were a blur of pain and confusion. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. My work suffered. My friends worried. I felt like a ghost, wandering through the ruins of my former life. I considered confronting Jasper, the man who had stolen my wife. But what would that accomplish? He was just a symptom of a larger problem. Bronwyn was the one who had betrayed me, the one who had broken our vows. Instead, I decided to focus on myself. I started therapy, seeking professional help to navigate the emotional wreckage of my shattered marriage. I reconnected with old friends, rediscovered forgotten hobbies. I began to rebuild my life piece by piece. The divorce was swift and painless. Bronwyn didn't contest anything. She seemed eager to move on with her new life, her new love. I signed the papers, a sense of numb resignation washing over me. It was over, officially, finally. I moved out of our flat, finding a small, quiet apartment in a different part of the city. I wanted a fresh start, a clean slate. I surrounded myself with things that brought me joy: books, music, art. I started taking painting classes, inspired by Bronwyn's passion but determined to find my own voice. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call. It was Bronwyn. Her voice was strained, almost desperate. Jasper had left her. He'd moved on to another artist, another muse. She was alone, heartbroken, and penniless. She had lost her studio, her apartment, everything. She asked me for help. She begged me to take her back. She promised she'd changed, that she'd learned her lesson, but I couldn't do it. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken. I couldn't forget the pain she had caused me, the lies she had told, the betrayal she had inflicted. I told her I was sorry, but I couldn't help her. I wished her well, but I couldn't be a part of her life anymore. I hung up the phone, a sense of closure washing over me. I never saw Bronwyn again. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling, trying to rebuild her life. But I couldn't bring myself to care. I had my own life to live, my own healing to do. Years passed. I continued to work as a software engineer, finding satisfaction in the logic and precision of coding. I pursued my passion for painting, developing my own unique style. I even started dating again, cautiously optimistic about the possibility of finding love again. One day, I received an invitation to an art exhibition. It was a retrospective of Jasper's work, showcasing his sculptures from the past decade. I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to revisit that chapter of my life, but curiosity got the better of me. I decided to go. The exhibition was crowded, filled with art enthusiasts and critics. Jasper's sculptures were impressive, technically brilliant, but soulless. They lacked the passion and emotion that I had always admired in Bronwyn's work. As I walked through the gallery, I noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was Jasper. He looked older, more weathered, his eyes lacking the spark that had once captivated Bronwyn. He saw me and his face paled. He approached me cautiously, his voice hesitant. He apologized for what he had done, for his role in the destruction of my marriage. He claimed he had been infatuated with Bronwyn, blinded by her beauty and talent. But he admitted it was a mistake, a fleeting moment of passion that had cost him dearly. He'd lost Bronwyn, his reputation, and his artistic inspiration. I listened to his apology, unmoved. I didn't need his forgiveness. I had already forgiven myself for being a fool, for believing in a love that wasn't real. I simply nodded and walked away, leaving him to his regrets. As I left the gallery, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. I had survived the betrayal, the heartbreak, the devastation. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Bronwyn's betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and self-discovery. I had learned to trust my instincts, to value myself, and to never settle for less than I deserved. The rain had stopped. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the city. I took a deep breath, the air crisp and clean. I was ready to embrace the future, whatever it may hold. I was Alistair, and I was finally free. Years later, I found love again with a kind and understanding woman named Genevieve. She was everything Bronwyn wasn't: honest, loyal, and deeply committed to our relationship. We built a life together filled with laughter, adventure, and mutual respect. I finally understood what true love meant, a love built on trust and genuine connection. Bronwyn's betrayal remained a scar, but it no longer defined me. It was a reminder of the pain I had overcome, the strength I had found within myself. I had learned to forgive, not for her sake, but for my own. I had moved on, leaving the past behind and embracing a future filled with hope and happiness. I had finally found my peace.